Hey Yoginis, Ashley Josephine here, checking in from Tucson, Arizona. And I haven't been with you for about 2 weeks as I've gotten settled into my new home. I'm really excited for the short practice that I'm going to share with you today. Part of the fun in moving to a new city is you get to go practice in new studios, you get to be exposed to new practices, and Tucson is certainly not short of any yoga. There's tons of different types of yoga here, and I've had a really fun time in the past couple of weeks exploring new practices, new studios, and new teachers, and I learned some pretty cool things along the way. So in today's practice, we're going to use a block, and if you don't have a block, you can use anything that is block-like, that's not going to hurt you. I say that maybe like a really thick book, like a Harry Potter book, might do the trick, although you want to be really careful that it's sturdy and isn't going to give out on you, because we're going to be putting a lot of weight into the block. You'll set the block up right against a wall. You're also going to need a wall for this practice. I suggest that you clean your feet. Just don't put dirty feet up against a white wall. I've done that before, and you'll just have to spend some extra time cleaning off your wall if you choose to do that. So we're going to start with downward facing dog on the wall. It's a really great modification. We'll go into plank on the wall, and then we'll do a warrior one and a warrior two. And using the wall and the block in these practices is going to help you isolate muscles in certain areas of the body. So you might have done these poses before, but when you use the props, you'll notice how much you actually really should be using these muscles when you're doing the same poses off of the wall and without the props. So it's really fun, really cool. Have fun with it, do what you can, and let's get set up. So we'll start with down dog on the wall. And to do that, you'll take your hands to the wall and you'll bring them out in front of you about shoulder height. And then you'll start walking your feet back so that they're about underneath your hips, about hip distance apart. And then drop your torso so that you're about parallel to the ground. Release your head and your neck and feel the stretch across the shoulders and the back and the chest. Take some deep breaths from the belly and allow the breath to travel all the way up to the heart, maybe even the throat. Feel the stretch along the back of the neck, and you'll notice here you're really pressing down into your hands. That's the same amount of pressure that you would normally put in a downward facing dog on the mat to get the same type of sensation just when you're practicing a normal downward facing dog. So take a few more breaths here. Really deep belly breaths. Inhale and exhale. This is a really nice restorative pose. It's great for stretching the upper body. Now to get out of it, you can simply walk your feet up, and then we'll turn around and we'll come down to the mat, and we'll do a plank on the wall, and this is much more difficult. So start by taking your hands to the ground, your knees underneath you, and you're going to step the feet onto the wall here right about the same height as the hips. Again, your hands stacked right underneath the shoulders. Come up with one foot to start. You might have to walk yourself out, and then pull the other foot up so that your hips are in line with your shoulders. You'll have to pull your heart forward, really press into the feet. This is very difficult and immediately shows you how much core work you need and how much you need to be engaging the core to help. And you'll notice that you might lose one foot, try and bring it back up. Notice how much you need to engage the core. Take a couple more breaths here. This is really difficult, so even if you only have one foot on the wall, that's awesome. And then when you're finished, come down onto the knees. You'll feel that one in the shoulders for sure. Take a couple breaths here. I'm out of breath from doing that one. But awesome, awesome core workout without doing any crunches. All right, so now we'll do a warrior one and a warrior two. This is where you're going to need the block or some type of prop. You'll place the block right up against the wall, and then you'll take your, let's start with the left foot forward. So your right foot will be back against the block. You're pressing that knife edge of the foot into the block, and the block is pressing into the wall. You lunge out with your left foot so that the knee stacks over the ankle. You turn your hips forward towards the front of the room. Your right hip is moving forward as your left hip pulls back.
Lunge down, arms up. This is warrior one. Now what's really nice about this pose is that you can feel how much pressure you're putting into the block, and that will activate the legs, the muscle in your back leg. You'll feel how much you're really pressing into that back foot and back leg, how engaged it is. And you can take that feeling and try and replicate it when you're practicing a pose like warrior one without the wall. Now to do warrior two, you'll open up so that your hips open. You'll keep the lunge in the front leg. Again, really press into that back foot against the wall. Gaze out over your right fingertips. This is a great hip stretch, opening up through the front hip, still pressing into the back. And from here you can even go into an extended side angle. Rest your forearm on the thigh, stretch out the side body. You can move back into a reverse warrior, little to no weight in your back hand, stay low in the lunge. You can even maybe reach back to the wall behind you, press into the fingertips, gives you a little extra stretch on the front side. And then you can exhale your hands to the ground. Step back, pull the right foot forward, left foot moves against the block. Lunge down to the right knee, arms come up, warrior one. Now on this side, the left hip pulls forward, the right hip pulls back. You can take your hands to your hips and square them, then bring the hands back up. Now if your hips aren't exactly square, that's perfectly okay. They don't have to be. The goal instead is that the left hip is moving in the direction of the front of the mat. Relax your shoulder blades down away from your ears. Take a deep inhale here. Notice the pressure in the knife edge of your back foot. And then on an exhale, open up the hips, open up the arms, gaze over the right fingertips. Press the knee out toward the pinky side edge of the right foot to open up the hip on the right leg. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Take a soft gaze. And notice the pressure in that back leg again. Notice the muscles engaging and firing. 2 more deep inhales and exhales here. You can move forward into an extended side angle if you'd like. Find lots of length on the left side of the body. And the more that you press into the block with your back foot, the more you'll get a stretch in the back side of the body here. Then on an inhale, reverse the warrior. And if you're able to reach back to the wall behind you, only if you're able. If you have to really reach, then I would advise not doing it. But if it is in your practice, if you do have that flexibility, touching the wall will help you get more of a stretch. And see, on this side, it would be too much of a stretch for me to try and touch the wall, so I'm not going to. In fact, I'm going to fall backwards. Take a couple breaths here. And then exhale. Hands down to the ground. Lower your knees. Press back into child's pose for a moment. Knees wide, toes touch. Forehead to the ground. Deep breaths. I hope that you found this practice fun, engaging, and informative. I hope that you've learned something new about the muscles in your body. Maybe you've learned something new about poses that you've been practicing for a long time. If you ever have any questions about a particular pose, about a sequence, a style, anything at all that has to do with yoga or healthy living, please reach out to me and let me know. I'm here to answer any and all of your questions. I hope to see you on or off the mat again soon, and I'll be back next week with a new practice for you. Namaste.